Bo Spencer.
Nice to meet you.
Three little birds, turkey calls.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about the fact that everybody's excited about turkey season. When people get excited about turkey season, they get excited about making turkey noises. And in order to do that, you should probably have a turkey call.
At least 4 or 5.
And you make these in your home, in your shop.
Yes, sir.
This is what the shell of one of these things looks like.
That's what it looks like when it comes off the lathe. That's a roughed out pot, if you want to call it that. That one is American chestnut. Pretty unique and rare.
Where did you find that wood?
Upstate New York, hidden in a barn.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Now, would you call that a resonating chamber, or what would you call that?
Or a sound chamber, however you wanted to describe it.
How does that sound?
Amazing. I prefer the chestnut slate call over about any other call that I've made or heard. I think it sounds more like a hen than any call I've ever heard.
Now, do you have one of these done?
I do. This is the finished product, and you can see the character with it. It has a lot of the wormholes from the wood. They do sound really good.
Well, it does sound nice. And that's why a slate or a glass is one of my favorite things to do, because you can be very subtle. All right, let's talk about calling turkeys. So many people mess up, especially the young turkey hunter, the person going out in the woods for the first time. They tend to want to sit there and just beat the fire out of the thing, make as much noise as possible. And
calling too much. That's the biggest mistake I've seen, and I've been guilty of it myself. Too much calling is more detrimental than about anything other than movement.
so many times you get out there and you establish contact with that bird, and I've been listening to people calling in the distance. They tend to overdo it. Once you establish contact with that bird and he's answering you back, sometimes it makes a whole lot more sense to be quiet.
To be quiet, right.
And let him come. Have you found that?
Yes, and I've even found that a lot of times you may have to wait several hours, but over-calling can a lot of times turn them the other way.
Because in nature, she's supposed to go to him.
Right.
If that doesn't happen, and he's waiting around for so long, he's finally going to hopefully come towards you.
Hopefully.
Well, you know what? You have many different kinds of wood, and tell me how these differ in sound because of the very wood.
Density and the makeup of the wood and the characteristics of it change the sound tremendously, along with the call surface. This is a very dense Purple Heart wood from South America. It's with a glass call surface. It's going to sound a little bit different than the slate.
Let's play the slate down right next to that.
This one is actually bamboo of all things. Not many bamboo turkey calls on the market, but it sounds really good also.
Now that's the important of having more than one call, is if they're not, I have messed around with birds and they'll respond to one and ignore the next one.
And it might be completely different the next day or that afternoon even. I don't think that you can carry enough calls for that very reason.
You know, it's like having different colored jigs. You
Exactly.
got a blue or a green,
Right.
You know, and a chartreuse with yellow flakes in it.
And you may find a bird that doesn't like one call, but will absolutely gobble his head off at another. And having that selection is key.
What do you think the biggest mistake people make in the woods besides overcalling?
Overcalling and not enough patience. I think people decide to run and gun more than they should instead of sit tight and wait. We all know that a lot of times turkeys will come in real quiet. You don't even know that they're coming. They might have shut up and not answered a call for several minutes, and the next thing you know, they're standing in front of you.
Patience.
Exactly. I always try to give myself at least 30 minutes or more from the time that I don't hear them anymore before I make any kind of move at all. So.
Now let's hear some different call scenarios. Let me hear what a typical morning for you. Put us in a different turkey hunting situation and walk us through it.
I'm very used to or rely heavily on just a light yelp and maybe some light purrs. I don't I don't really try to get into the
The
fancy,
cackling and all that.
right, or any kind of competition style calling. Very subtle, natural sounds, and as minimal as I can. Uh, a lot of times I'll use that right there just to kind of gauge the location and their reaction. If I get a response, I may do that another time or two, just a little series of yelps, and then stop for quite a while. One thing that I've learned that works quite well to kind of close that distance is just some real light purrs.
That's the finisher right there.
Right,
Many
and you can
times.
do that just a few times, and that most of the time will seal the deal, so to say. But those are my really kind of go-to sequences of things most every morning in the woods. Like I said, I don't really get real fancy. To me, turkey's not real fancy, so 90% of hen noise I hear is yelps, at least 90%. Patterning your turkeys as well as doing a lot of scouting is main key there also. Know what their behavior is going to be and where they're going to be, what time of the day they're going to be there, and try to intercept them. We use that quite often.
You know, when hens are fighting or hens are making aggressive noises, which I've heard in the past, I try to mimic that sound if they're making that, whatever sound they're making out there. Sometimes you'll bring a hen in, which will bring the tom in.
Right. A lot of times that's another, if you want to call it a trick, if I can hear a hen, I'll do anything I can to make her mad. If I need mock her, mimic her, whatever the case may be, if I can make her mad and come looking for me, a lot of success happens that way.
Should be pulling somebody with her.
Right, and you may not even know that there's a gobbler in the area.
But he's listening.
But he's listening, right. So,
you know, the funny thing about a turkey is the fact that they're listening. They may be a half a mile away, but they have their area that they know exactly what it is. They get this inbuilt, inborn GPS system.
Exactly.
They know where you're making that noise from.
Right.
They know from a half a mile away that you're sitting underneath that oak tree in the field. He thinks there's a hen out there. So that's where the patience comes in big time. Make the noise, establish contact, back off a little bit and wait. Just purr him in. You don't have to get aggressive. And I have had more success with that. Now, like you say, any of us get beat up in the woods and humbled big time.
Absolutely. It happens every year, at least to me.
All right, now, we look at these different woods. Just, I can tell there's a little different sound going on there.
It's the same wood. This one just happens, my step after they come off the lathe, I do a few coats of an oil rub and then several coats inside and out of a polyacrylic mixture to help with weatherproofing and waterproofing so that the wood doesn't expand and contract and change the sound and be ruined down the road, so to say. Wood density makes a huge difference. Even though this chestnut may be a little bit lighter than, say, a Purple Heart, you're going to get a different sound. I still think this one sounds, as far as the slate call goes, just absolutely amazing. I like a denser wood for a glass or a crystal call for the simple fact that you can get louder with it if you want to, but at the same time, it's going to make that nice, soft turkey sound at the same time. With a slate call, that's usually my main form of calling is with a slate, and then I'll go to a glass or a crystal as a secondary call. With the slate call, I've played with them enough that chestnut's probably my number one, followed up probably with a walnut, something along those lines. The bamboo is a little bit unique. It sounds really good. That sort of happened on the trial and error basis. I decided that I've never seen a turkey call made from bamboo, and
so that's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
just playing with different types of woods to see what kind of sound you
get. It is, and it's a form of relaxation for me.
All right, you got your calls, you got them in a bag. What's something you can do to protect those once you get into the woods to make sure? What do you do the day ahead when you know you're going to the woods? How do you keep everything ready to roll?
I rough up my call surface with just a little piece of a 3M scour type pad, not a steel wool or anything heavily abrasive, but just a cleaning sort of pad, or about a mid-grade level of sandpaper. Do the same with my striker tips. Want to keep my strikers dry. Same with slate and glass. The metallic call surfaces, copper and aluminum and so forth, will call when they're a little bit damp or wet. I don't use very many of those. I've made a few for people and they sound really good. I'm just sort of a purist, I guess, when it comes to friction calls. But creating that friction surface with that scouring pad on both the call surface and the striker helps tremendously. I've gone as far as on slate and glass calls to keep them in a Ziploc bag inside my turkey vest. If it's going to be heavy dew or damp, or maybe a little bit of rain when we're going out, that seems to help protect that surface quite a bit. Most of your calls, the pot style calls, the pots themselves are going to be protected with the treatment and the finish, but you want to make sure you keep your call surface dry.
All right, give us your best lick on your favorite call.
Right now,
Putting you under pressure.
put me under pressure, I guess. I really am. I've gotten fond of these chestnut calls. They sound great.
Does sound good.
And to me, that sounds like a hen.
How long does it take you to put one of these together?
There's probably about actual work hours, 4 to 5 hours in a call. There's quite a bit of dry time. You've got to allow dry between each coat of oil and between each coat of polyurethane. Once the pot itself is finished, I glue in a soundboard. You have to let the glue dry and cure, and then you do the glue in with the call surface, and the same thing. You have to let it dry and cure under clamps also. If I work really hard at it, I can start a call about noon today, and it'll be ready to use about noon tomorrow. If I work really hard, I usually try to give myself 2 days at least, simply because I have to wait for everything to dry before I can go to the next step. But
Now, why'd you get into this?
I got into it, I don't want to say out of necessity, but I looked at custom-made calls for years and couldn't bring myself to pay some of the prices that are out there, even though most of them are artwork. I mean, you can look at them that way. But I just kind of figured there was a way that I could do the same thing, maybe a little bit cheaper. Didn't really plan on it being a business necessarily. As I got into it, it became more of a puzzle to me, like we were talking about, picking wood types and call surfaces and that sort of thing. Some people like crossword puzzles, and I like to figure out what's going to sound like a turkey. And then it's a form of relaxation also. It's kind of...
And there's that satisfaction, like growing a garden or canning your own vegetables. You go out and kill a turkey with one of your calls.
One of your calls,
that's pretty cool.
If not, maybe not harvesting a turkey, but if you can communicate with that turkey with something that you've made, that's probably the closest you'll get to talking to a turkey, a purely talking turkey. It's something that you've put together yourself, and you've been able to communicate with that animal.
Bo, thank you very much today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's go turkey hunting right now.
Let's go.
Right now.